Greetings, everyone. I'm Dr. Moshe Daniel Block. This is my first Facebook Live, which is pretty fun. So tonight I'm going to be discussing mind-body medicine and holistic counseling, the course that I offer that teaches mind-body medicine. So yeah, it's great that I see some people are starting to join. Yeah, so mind-body medicine is a lot what it sounds like. There's a connection between the mind and the body, and this is hugely impactful in medicine. And it's not that commonly practiced. It's not that commonly seen, even amongst alternative practitioners. It's really we're just in the dawning of seeing this sort of medicine practiced and offered. The word holism, holistic, is a word that has been used very lightly and has been attributed to many things which I wouldn't consider to be holistic. For instance, like holistic toothpaste. The word holistic is used sometimes synonymously with things that are natural, things that are alternative, things that are complementary medicine. But the word holism, what it means to me and what I teach about it is how the mind and the body work as a oneness, and the emotions and the soul. So in naturopathic medicine and many other cosmologies, there is this idea of having four dimensions of the human being, to keep it simple. There's the soul, there's the mind, there's the emotions, and there's the body. The holistic picture, therefore, it includes the understanding that what we see happening in the body is a reflection of what happens or what's going on the mental, emotional field. That's what the whole picture is. So, for instance, a belief system that is unaligned with a person's true nature can influence their body eventually. The way that happens is that the flow of energy that exists all around us, we could call it the vital force, we could call it the universal life energy. In the Vedic tradition, it's called prana. In Japanese, it's ki. Chinese, it's chi. And of course, there's that which exists in the human being and that which exists all around in the world. So the universal energy. So our bodies and our emotional field are constantly receiving this flow of energy. And when all is hunky-dory, when all is going well, there is vitality, there is health, there is goodness happening on all levels of the being. Now, what I've discovered and what I teach in holistic counseling is that illness actually begins in the mind. And Paramahansa Yogananda, for example, and even in the Course in Miracles, the Course in Miracles expresses it that only the body is capable, only the mind is capable of error. The body can only respond to the misthought of the mind. And Paramahansa Yogananda, in the autobiography of a yogi, describes the cells of the physical body as being faithful subjects to the emperor of the mind. So the body is in a state of passivity. It can only respond to a harmonious state of being or a lack of harmony in the state of being. So when we adopt beliefs that are not in harmony, with our true nature, then that can have an impact on our bodies. I'm just seeing some. I'm really new at this Facebook Live thing. This is great. Thank you for your advice. I'm feeling amazing and myasthenia gravis free. Oh, that's great, Fabienne. That gives me a lot of joy to hear that. I'm so pleased. Keep it up. Spread the love. So, what could be a thought that is out of harmony with our true nature? There's the statement of the soul, which is I am. I am. It's a state of pure beingness. There is no real definition of who we are, which is outside of this, of how we experience our true self, beyond words, beyond definition, beyond control. When we get in our mind some kind of a fixated thought about ourselves, about others, about the world, then we start to actually interfere with that natural state of I am, of the soul. And what I've discovered, what I really see to be true in medicine, true in healing, and true in chronic disease, is that the thoughts that we think that are repeatedly fed by our choice, by our choosing them, by us aligning with them, these are the elements that sit in our energy field, in our mental processes, in our vital force, which actually blocks the receptivity of the universal life energy, which I was talking about just a minute ago. So the vital force, the chi, the ki, the prana, the life essence. So what's an example? Let's get a little bit more concrete here about specific kinds of beliefs that can inhibit health. I can use myself as an example. 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, and a couple of years ago, I had another episode with it, which was even deeper and even greater amount of learning. 20 years ago, I had paralysis and droopy eyelids, and I was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis, which is a rare autoimmune disease where the immune cells attack the neuromuscular junction, creating paralysis. So I actually had a dialogue done 20 years ago. It was called the Optiva Dialogue, and I had that done at the Options Institute. That's the home of Barry Neal and Samaria Kaufman and their great work on belief systems and working with autistic children. So I was given this dialogue, and after a series of questions, it got down to this bottom line where I stated, as a result of a question, I said, because I need to be perfect. That was my answer to another question. So that was my thinking, my belief, and I had never thought that that wasn't true, that I just needed to be perfect. That was my reality. And then I was asked the question, which was the million-dollar question, the life-liberating question: what makes you believe that you need to be perfect? And that was an earth-shattering moment for me, because I had never been asked that question. I had never asked myself that question, and it wasn't even on my radar to consider the possibility that I didn't need to be perfect. So by the very question, the answer arrived in my mind. And that doesn't always happen with patients. Like sometimes we arrive at the belief systems and they're very sclerotic, they're stuck, they're old, and it takes time to work them out. But in my case, I was ready for a change, and the answer was, I don't need to be perfect. So immediately I had a spontaneous healing. My eyes cleared up and blood flowed into my body and my arms became strong and full of vital force. And I learned an invaluable lesson at that time, which was that the body is truly reflecting the beliefs that we hold in the mind. And in this case, the picture that surrounded this need to be perfect was that I had judged myself very harshly for not being perfect. And the harshness was energy, negative energy, criticism, attack, turned towards myself. So my being was in the attacking the self business. And what better example to create an autoimmune condition than self-attack? Because that's exactly what's happening on the level of the body in autoimmune conditions that I've seen in the vast majority of my cases. I find some kind of a harsh criticism of self, lack of self-love, a great guilt over some mistake, real denial of the self. There's a self-attack and self-diminishing in autoimmune conditions. And I also had that myself. So I learned that A, I didn't need to be perfect. B, I could stop being hard on myself when I wasn't perfect. And C, I'm okay. The healing that resulted I'll never forget it, because I really saw how the body was reflecting what was going on in the mind. I was attacking myself, and my cells were in the business of attacking themselves, because they are the innocent subjects that respond to emperor mind. That's the great lesson that I learned. And based on that awareness is what I teach in my program, Holistic Counseling, and in my book, Holistic Counseling, the book. This is the emphasis. And the process itself of how to do it with your clients or your patients and yourself is revealed in the course and in the book. And I say for yourself because there's a big component of physician heal thyself in my course in holistic counseling. It is as important as any other knowledge that I share in the course is the focus on physician heal thyself. And the reason for that is that when we sit in with a patient or a client, I'll use both terms because I know as naturopathic doctors we use the word patient, as counselors or psychotherapists we may use the word client, and so we're all over the place with that. When we sit with a person who's suffering, it could be tough. There could be a lot of painful energies there, a lot of suppressed, powerful forces of anger, of guilt, of suppressed sadness, of rage, of severe self-loathing, of suppressed sexual force, sexual desire. You name it. There's a lot of really intense things that people go through. When a practitioner has gone through their own stuff, their own pain, a few things happens that makes them a better practitioner. The first thing is that they're not afraid of those emotions because they've met them in themselves. So the anger, they understand what it's like to deal with anger, to face the anger, the pain that's involved in allowing suppressed grief that has basically eaten away and sucked away the life force from suppressing that grief. We know the pain of what it's like to realize that our ego is getting in the way of something. And it's really on us to make the change and not the whole environment around us and all the people, as we have been having a tendency to project onto others. So when we work through these energies, we're a lot more prepared to hold the space for others to do the same. And I know for a fact, because I've seen it in many practitioners who have taken my course, that when we are shut down, we can't really be an open-hearted space for others to face their pain and their suffering. It's the analogy is like standing before somebody, like a tribunal of judges, and they're all clothed and you're standing there naked. You feel on the spot. You feel like it's all about the doctor is over there and you are here as the patient, and the dynamic of the healing power of energy of nature does not flow as when the practitioner is sitting there open-hearted, has dealt with their own stuff, and is okay with the other person suffering because they have done the work on their own suffering. Now, we don't need, I never state it like like it's either you are healed or you're not healed. It's like finish line, I'm there, been there, done that. That's far from the truth. The importance is that each of us walks the path, that we are actively engaged in healing ourselves, that we consider that as high a priority as doing any kind of studies, book studies. Hi, Graka. Yes, I do remember you. It's good to see you. So, yeah, the physician heal thyself piece is huge. And so in the course, there's an opportunity that when we're learning to do the dialogue that is part of holistic counseling, which I call the vis dialogue. Vis is VIS, which stands for the Latin vis medicatrix naturae, the healing power of nature. So it's the healing power of nature dialogue. Um, that there's an opportunity to both practice as the practitioner and also to go through and discover the root issues that you're carrying in your subconscious as the patient slash subject client. So this is really a great part of the weekend, and one that is very helpful to receive both of those um, sides of things. So I do want to. I'm really, really excited to share something with everyone. This is a new event that we're putting on. We're putting on Holistic Counseling Part 1 and Part 2 in Costa Rica this January. So January 20th to the 24th will be Part 1, and the 25th to the 30th, or the 26th to the 30th, will be Part 2. Now, in order to take Part 2, you must have completed Part 1 and then also practiced around 10 dialogues. So you become proficient and you get an idea of where you're struggling in Part 1, or where you could use some growth, some additional wisdom of how to help the advanced cases, or where when a patient gets stuck, or when they themselves are very hard to dialogue. These are some of the things that we could address together in Part 2. And we're going to be doing it in the amazing wilderness, jungle, raw, so real energy of Costa Rica, where the land itself is very healing. We're going to be unplugged, and we're going to just be able to focus on this teaching and this learning to get to our core issues that literally are life-changing. So one of the things that is pretty amazing that you will uncover yourself when you do the holistic counseling is that you get to help somebody by asking them questions they've never been asked before, and to get somewhere very real and very deep in a short amount of time, compared to what is often takes years, and even I've heard, and some of our practitioners have heard, decades. So in a short amount of time, 1 or 2 appointments, we can get very deep and help liberate people and ourselves with the same process of what it takes regular counseling and regular psychotherapy quite a long time to uncover. So I'm very passionate about sharing this, so that as practitioners you can help others, and so that people do not, it's not required that you are a naturopathic doctor. You could be a counselor, a nurse, a yogi. You could be someone who is ready for a career change, someone who wants to learn how to do this to help others. So that's just for your information. We're also offering the course in October 13th to the 15th in Connecticut. So that's going to be posted very soon on my page. If you have any questions about that, just send me a message. I'll be happy to share. So I don't know if anybody has any questions from what I've shared. Go ahead and write them. I'll see if I could address them, but I'll just speak for a few more minutes and then probably close out for this first live. But it's been fun. It's great to see some of my friends showing up. I see Eileen Shupak, Jamie Birnbaum. Really good to see Jenny Bork. Yeah, Galvis, Aggie. It's so good to see my friends showing up. This Haley from NDNR. Very, very nice to see everyone. So, yeah, so holism is not the road most traveled. Let's put it that way. Studies done by researchers in universities have proven that people will follow those who seem confident, whether or not they're right. That's the catch here. If a person stood up and was adamant and very confident in what they were saying, people kind of were drawn in, and people get drawn in to those who seem confident. And as practitioners, it's important to be confident, but what kind of confidence do we want to have? There's two kinds of confidence, and perhaps many shades in between, of course. The one is you're confident because you've studied the materials that they say, put they in brackets, that the book says, that the research says is going to work. In general, that kind of confidence is based in the model of allopathic medicine. Oh, cool. We got someone from Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine, Naturopathic Society. That's great. Hi, Nick. So, as I was saying, the confidence, when we begin as practitioners and when we're out there on our own and we're working with these live cases, if there's any doubt whatsoever, if we lack some confidence in ourselves, which is common and normal for us to feel as practitioners, there is a tendency to default to the this for that medicine. Open up the book, do the research. What did I learn in class? What did it say that is good for this condition? Somebody has Crohn's, somebody has insomnia, chronic migraines, this or that form of cancer, autoimmune disease. What does it say is good for that? It's easy to rely on it because it's an external thing that's sort of authoritative in medicine. This research is this idea of authoritativeness of research, of allopathic minded medicine. So when we lack a little bit of confidence in ourselves, it's easy to default into relying on those things that we could be confident in, which we don't need to, it doesn't require us to believe in ourselves and to believe in who we are as practitioners. The other form of confidence is the one that it's a quiet confidence. It's one that comes from experience, that you see the medicine works. When you work with the holism, you see the mind-body medicine work. You see how profound it is to help someone heal as an individual. When we look at the principles of naturopathic medicine, they're there for a reason. Treat each person as an individual. Treat the whole person. Treat the fundamental cause of disease. Doctor as teacher. Work with the healing power of nature. That is there for a reason. And when we work with those true principles in time, whether it's slowly or quickly, we gain a confidence which is very inspiring for the patient to look into our eyes and to feel that solidness of confident energy, which is not has nothing to prove. It has a natural sense of, I know this works because I've seen it work. So it's hard as practitioners of a path much, much less traveled to trust in the medicine and to be willing to, stake a lot of our livelihood, our practice on a medicine which is discouraged in the colleges of naturopathic medicine, is barely even taught. We do have some modalities which are fantastic, like homeopathy, and the use of acupuncture can be as well. And, when counseling is applied at the root cause, then it's very effective holistically. But in general, we don't really know how to manage cases after we get out of the colleges in a holistic fashion. The pitfalls that can occur with people when we're in practice, we don't know. So this is what I help to really address. In addition to just teaching the process of doing the Vis dialogue in holistic counseling, I also share what practice is like in the holistic world, in the holistic field. What are the upsides, what are the downsides, and how to establish ourselves confidently in the medicine. So I've almost gotten to 25 minutes here. I think I'll just twiddle my thumbs a little bit, and if somebody wants to ask a question, I don't know if that's standard for Facebook Lives. It's been great to see everyone. Did I see any comments back here? Oh yeah, Fabienne said that she's feeling amazing, which is great. And oh yeah, Savea posted where we're holding the retreat in Costa Rica. By the way, normally, like for instance, in October, the course, part one of holistic counseling, you can come live and do it in person, which is really wonderful. Or you could do it as a webinar if you can't travel across the country, or you just can't make it in person. And that's a pretty open class. I think we have quite a lot of room. But in Costa Rica, we have a limited amount of space because it's an all-inclusive. So you get your room, you get your delicious 3 mostly organic meals a day. And so we only have room for a handful of people, around 12 to 14 people. And so that's just for your information. It's going to probably fill up pretty quick. So yeah, that's that. And anything. Hey, Oscar, how you doing? Um, okay, so Adam Brown has a question. Adam says, do you often combine homeopathy with the dialogue? Hi, Adam, by the way. So the answer is it depends. I often work with homeopathy. That's a simple answer, yes. However, there are many times when I have such a great dialogue with someone that I don't want to give anything else at all. I don't want to interfere with the process of healing that has initiated with the dialogue. And there's a main reason for that. The most powerful medicine, I actually wrote an article on the natpath.com. It's called the greatest, if I told you what the best medicine is, will you do it? So it's a pun on what I consider the best medicine, and it has to do with will, W-I-L-L. So that when we discover the belief systems that we have that are out of alignment with our true nature, and we see it as a choice, then we are in the realm of will. So with will, we can change the course of our lives and begin healing in the most profound way. That will sometimes is very fragile. Like when a little sapling is growing out of the ground, we can't kick it or mess with it. Even a strong wind can threaten its existence. So I stay away from giving anything else because of what I call the moth to the lights of getting something from the outside appeal. So you know how moths are attracted to the light. When I have somebody in a place where they're really in the zone of understanding themselves better, if I then say, here, take this homeopathic remedy, take this, then they become fixated, and the will, that subtle force that they were locked in on, can be gone like that. I've seen it happen. It's gone. So now they're on, this is going to help me. But they were just in the most powerful place that they could be for their healing, is in the understanding that they are empowered to help change their life, especially by recognizing what that deepest belief is. So when we lock onto it, and I get someone there, Adam, to just finalize on the answer to your question, I don't give homeopathy. When I'm working with a chronic case, where we're, it's not moving as easily as we can. There's stuck forces. It's an old sclerotic energy, and the person is very having trouble with the will. Then will complement with homeopathy as well. And I do offer kernels of wisdom and little bits of homeopathic teaching in the course, but the course itself is predominantly about the counseling, the holistic counseling. So oh yeah, if there's anybody else, hi Mike, how you doing? Hey Carla, it's really great to see everybody on here. So I will be here for a couple of more minutes if anybody else has a question. Okay, Nick has a question. Uh, Nick asked, how do you dress for holistic counseling? Do you find that your appearance affects the process? Well, I wouldn't wear like the A&W root beer man costume or something. Um, it's a good question. I've never thought about it. I think I like to look casual, professional. I don't dress too fancy, like wear a tie or a lab coat or have my stethoscope around my shoulders, as a lot of people like to market themselves as doctors, which is absolutely fine. Um, I don't think it matters all that much. You know, within reason. You know, if you're going to wear a big Prince, Prince the artist formerly alive and formerly known as Prince, who has like these big jumpsuits with like the butt cheeks cut out. I don't know if that would not be necessarily appropriate in practice. So all within reason, and really, you know, Nick, that you bring it up, one of the most important things in healing, if not the most important thing, is being true to oneself, is being authentic with how one is guided to be inside. So that dress should reflect your personality. So if you're a florid and flowery person, then wear florid and flowery clothes. If you are um, hardworking and you know, kind of serious, you have a bit of a seriousness to you, well, then let your clothing reflect that. I think that that's probably my number one response to this is be yourself in your dress, be yourself in your expression and how you know, create your office space. Don't externalize what you're supposed to look too much to and to uh, um, a definition of what you should be. Always follow your true self. That's going to pay off for sure. Yep. Oh, I see. Hi, Christy. How are you doing? It's been a long time. Hi, Shakira. Shakira, have you graduated? I think you've graduated now. Shakira was in Quebec. She's from Arizona and came for some preceptorship, which was fantastic. So yeah, I'm here for a couple more minutes, and I'm enjoying this process of seeing people that I haven't connected with in a while. If nobody has a question in the next couple of minutes, I'll probably finish the session. I won't keep dead space here though. Maybe I'll say something for, you know, in conclusion. Um, being physician heal thyself, healer heal thyself is an ongoing process. There's no finish line. It's always a matter of recognizing deeper and deeper aspects of ourselves that can be healed and that can be improved upon, let's say, aligned with our true nature, and at the same time, all along, having grace for ourselves and acceptance of ourselves as we are, with whatever aspects of our personality or our mental emotional processes that we don't love, that are not the best parts of us. So to have grace and acceptance, and at the same time to work with the will to align those with true nature. And you know, one of the ways that we can determine what our true nature is, in very simple terms, is it's how we love to be. So not desire to be, like I desire for people, like let's say I have insecurity, I desire for people to respect me. I desire to be the best. These are desires, these are attachments, these are actually parts of the things that we can release. But what we love, that feeling that brings us joy and fulfillment on a profound level, that those things are the guidance of our soul, urging us to be that way. And so I encourage each of us to walk that path. Okay, I forgot to scroll down. So Nick, what would you say to anyone who's on the fence about taking the amazing holistic counseling course at Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine this month? I would say take the course. You will not be sorry. You are going to learn things that will stick with you for the rest of your life that you can begin building upon now. See, a lot of, I've seen a trend in a lot of alternative health practitioners, naturopaths, who change the kinds of medicine that they're practicing continuously and sort of jump from fad medicine to fad medicine. You know, there's this new machine that comes out. There's a new idea of how to practice. There's a new diet, and they're jumping, and never really developing and deepening core principles of healing that are universal and that can never truly be entirely mastered, but just improved upon and deepened and grow and fulfilled in this way. So I really recommend that you take the course. I'm pretty sure you will not be dissatisfied, and you will get to learn a lot about yourself in the process. I got another question I got a question from my buddy Oscar. Hola, Oscar, in Mexico. So out of subject, what do you think of not eating meat? That's a really good question. I've dealt with that in my own life, Oscar. I'm an omnivore, so I eat meat and I eat a lot of healthy organic food, vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. So I have tried to not eat meat, and I have struggled with that for different reasons. Myself personally, I'm allergic to a lot of legumes, so it's hard for me to supplement with other proteins. Don't eat glutinous proteins like seitan and stuff like that, nor soy. Don't like soy. So, I ended up just eating eggs. It became a little tough. I think that if a person can tolerate it, I think it's a good diet to be off meat, and I tend to prefer that. Not everybody can do that well. It's not going to work for everybody. Blood type diet, the O types are the hunter-gatherer types and tend to do well on meat, and the A types and B types do less well on meat. So it depends on your blood type and how you do when you do the vegetarian diet or the vegetarian diet. So just check in with yourself if you're feeling weak, if your coloring is off, if you're losing weight. I've seen people who do diets like raw diets and they're very malnourished. So it's important not to become too idealistic with what we eat and to lose sight, to let the idealism cloud out reality of how that's influencing you. But I do like the idea of being vegetarian for sure. And I'm working towards that. So eating a minimal amount of meat and lots of healthy, fresh vegetables. And yep. So another question here by Alan Maxwell. As with many mind-body approaches, there's often, if not always, insight and healing received for the practitioner. How do you go about addressing what comes up for us as holistic counselors? You mean how do I go about addressing what comes up in the program, holistic counseling, or do you mean how would I suggest that as? I'm going to assume that that's what you're asking, Alan. The answer is, a lot of the holistic counseling course is based on questions. So stuff comes up the whole weekend. One of the things that's kind of funny, what I do in the class is I basically say to people, no crossing of arms and no crossing legs. And one of the reasons for that is we tend to cross when something comes up. So crossing is a form of protection, but it's also a form of blocking. And it tends to be like, basically the body language is, I don't feel comfortable with this, I'm going to close this out. And so I show people how to be mindful and not cross so that they remain open to themselves and to their patient clients. So whatever comes up, I actually offer a process in the holistic counseling self-assessment form. So after you do a dialogue, there's a form where you ask yourself a series of questions like what come up, did anything come up, and then you do a process of exploration of that. That's what I do. Stuff still comes up for me when I do practice, and I look at it because that's my model of reality. I look at what I'm going through continuously. That's my life. And I encourage every practitioner, and the practitioners that are not even working with patients, but are just out there doing their thing, whether it be art or dance or in politics. Every single human being, no matter what path we're on, we would do very well to align with our true nature. And that process involves self-reflection, looking at it, hey, I was with that person today and they triggered me and I started feeling really uncomfortable or really angry or really sad, so it really serves us well to address those things as they come up. Yes, oh, you're so welcome, Alan. Thanks for clarifying. That's what Alan said, and it's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure. So, okay, I think that's good, folks. I thank you all so much for your presence. And I'm going to be doing some more lives here and there. I may do specific subjects. This was an overview, dealt with different smattering of topics, clinical pearls, and mind-body medicine stuff. So I bid you all farewell, good evening, and if it's not in the evening, wherever you are in the world, then good day. And I'm here if you want to ask me questions. You can send me questions through my messaging or on my wall is fine as well, unless it's private. Okay, so hasta la vista, sayonara, gute Nacht, bonne nuit, goodbye everyone. This is Dr. Moshe, over and out.